Dr. Sanga. Whatever was sought by the individual members, the lapsing was last week, but by today afternoon they should appear before the House. Otherwise, we will not admit them to sit in the House because they gave their word they would be able to present. We need to move a bit fast with the same. Otherwise, I want to appreciate your continued cooperation as well as understanding of the difficult times we have. Having had our businesses disrupted, it becomes very difficult for you as honorable members. The people back at home expect you to deliver services, but your hands are tied. You are unable to operate normally. And it becomes difficult for the members of public to understand the difficult circumstances that you are undergoing. As a leader, you are expected to be there, but again, you don't have facilitation. I'm sure you understand how assembly is facilitated for the individual members. When that facilitation is affected, it also affects your service delivery. So I hope that as we see through the remainder of the financial year, let's just see what we can do in the meantime. We only have this month. And I think after this session today, from tomorrow, we should be focusing on the budget and see what is the little we can salvage and see what to do for the remainder of the 1 year we have. I think that will be the main agenda. So for now, let me appreciate your cooperation, your understanding, as well as your continuous input in these difficult circumstances. Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4.
Before you proceed, I think I had given my indication. I'll allow Honorable Gideon Koech to give us a brief about Nandi Hills Sub-County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair, point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kipkurui.
Honorable Speaker, I think
take a seat, Honorable Gideon.
I think the component on brief about the sub-counties should be allowed at the point of statements, because Honorable Speaker, at messages, that would not be right.
He was supposed to come when I was making communication, so I had forgotten about that. I finished communicating, then immediately we went down to messages and papers. I realized it would have been important at the communication level.
No,
because statements under the standing order are in the afternoon.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker,
yes,
that's why, Honorable Speaker, the order number 2, communication from the chair, is exclusively for the chair. So you can only make provisions at the point of statements, where you can make personal statements, or you can seek a statement, or you can respond to a statement, Honorable Speaker. So I think it would not do not be in order if that would be allowed at that point before we go beyond standing order number 6. I seek that you consider.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Gideon.
Mr. Speaker, I think the honorable member is he in order to challenge your direction. When you are making communication from the chair, you are at your discretion also to give members to comment on the communication, which is partly part of what you are talking about as giving a feedback from the sub-county caucuses, because in statement it must be formal. Whether personal or whether it is seeking a statement, it must have been documented and it has passed through your office.
Honorable members, Honorable Fred.
Hoja nidhamu, Mheshimiwa Spika, kipengele namba 82 inasema wasi wakati mheshimiwa yote anataja akisimama kwa hoja nidhamu lazima ataje kipengele. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiangalia mheshimiwa wote wawili wanaongea tu lakini hawataji kipengele, Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable Kipkurui, I think just to respond to you, statements, the reason why I wouldn't give it under statements are strictly in the afternoon. In the morning, we can't make statements. I have a discretion to extend part of my communication to have a feedback. Once in a while, when I give communication, we always give members to respond on the same. That's why I said Honorable Gideon can speak under the same before we go to messages. That is settled. Honorable Gideon, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In as far as Nandi Hills Caucus is concerned, we have done few of our background check in as far as the response to COVID-19 is concerned. Basically, we have been in touch with the Sub-County Emergency Response Committee chaired by the DCC and ourselves. We have held several meetings to brief ourselves on the intervention measures being done. Just to mention a few, the isolation center in Nandi has been earmarked. To our dismay is that contrary to what is in the public domain, that there is a 40-bed capacity isolation unit in Nandi, we hardly have 9 beds ready. In Nandi as of the last 1 week, 1.5 weeks when we were there. In as far as mitigation measures, including screening and the rest, the first time we interrogated the same, we didn't we had not put in place any screening measures at our borders, but as of the last meeting, we had started screening at Sojoi, but the same exercise is experiencing a lot of challenge. There is no proper plan because essentially people are just in an open air. There is no shelter in case of any rain. There is no holding place in case of anyone that has a temperature that are shot beyond the 37 degrees. So I think basically there is still a lot to be done. In as far as the rural facilities is concerned, we went around and found that some of the facilities were lacking in the preventive gears, the masks and the gloves and the likes. Fortunate enough, when we retreated to our, I think second last sub-county caucus meeting, we were able to tell them, to the team, to make sure that we have even thermoguns and the likes at the rural facilities. And I think after that, we did another round of visit to rural facilities, and we found some already having the same. But overall, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the general preparedness is still below average, despite the fact that this assembly approved for 100 million emergency kitty to cushion and make sure that we prepare. The most glaring thing is the inability to factor in the welfare of the healthcare workers. They are somehow demoralized in the sense that we don't have, there is no specific allowance targeting this particular cadre. And I think that will be captured ably in our report that we'll be presenting to this committee. Basically, that is a brief of what we've been doing in Nandi Sub-County Caucus. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I think for the other two chairs, Honorable Kipkuri Chepkony, would you wish to proceed now or in the afternoon?
Honorable Speaker, I think the story of Tindret is the story of marginalization. And why I say that, Honorable Speaker, is all the good stories we hear, you'll only be able to tell whether they are factual or it is a story when you go to Tindret. Several meetings, and we were able to unearth nothing done by the executive, so to speak. First of all, the issue of even protective gears for the healthcare workers doesn't exist in Tindret. Every facility you go, the healthcare workers are seeking that the members of County Assembly forfeit some masks that they have for them. Very sad. We went to Meteite Sub-County Hospital, which is the biggest, quote unquote, in Tindret. There was only one thermogun available. Unfortunately, we were able to pick from there that there was no plans from the executive for Tindret. When we asked, do we have any isolation center in Tindret? There is none. We only have identified quarantine centers. Kapsigilai, in Chamase, Meteitei, in Tinderet, Kapsimotwa, preparatory in Kapsimotwa, and Gotnelel in Soba Songo. Identification. Only saying we are as a quarantine center. Just by that. We were able to visit, sample the few, 3 of them. When we went to Kapsimotwa, Honorable Speaker, we were informed by the administration that is the school administration, that the public health officers had once visited them and mentioned to them that they were trying to do an audit on how fit Kapsimotwa Academy, preparatory, would be able to host a quarantine facility, or to be a quarantine facility. As to the plans, in case of a person or people who will be quarantined, there was nothing about it. There is no arrangement on even whether they are going to be fed. Was there going to be any medic or a nurse available there? Or even how was the arrangement between the Department of Health or the national government and the school? So it is a whole confused system. We went to Kapsigilai, not even the public. When we went there, we ensured that we tagged along the public or the Department of Health and the administration, and the DCC was kind enough to allow us, our deputy, to walk through with us. They were not even aware. Even the public health officers who we went with, that was the first time they were going there. So, Honorable Speaker, the story of preparedness for COVID-19 in Tinderet, I think the goodness is God loves us, and we believe God loves the marginalized more. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, whatever amount of money we allocated here, saying it was for preparation of COVID-19 on preventive measures, not even a coin has been filled in Tinderet. Then we took some swap analysis on the distribution of masks. And of all the masks that we saw on...
Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Fred.
Kipengele namba 79, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Kipkuru Chepkwanya ako kwa sheria kuongea kwa mdomo, kwa sababu sheria inasema lazima tusomee yale walifanya kikao na wakatusomea, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Kwa sababu sheria haimruhusu. Unajua hiyo ni story anaongea. Kwa kipengele lazima asome na atupatie habari na sisi wenyewe tusome, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Iko kwa sheria, Mheshimiwa Kipkuru Chepkwanya kwa sheria, Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Honorable Fred, I think I've given my direction that each of the sub-county chairs next week on Monday must submit reports to be discussed. Today it was basically a briefing. I had allowed the previous 5, I think this should be the 5th sub-county chair, to basically give us a feel, more or less address the House on the facts, but the substantive reports, each of your caucuses, we had given you this Monday, but none was complied, so we said we'll extend by 1 week. By Monday, we would expect each of those. So that will be adhered to as at the time it will allow. In fact, for this one, it's just the chair giving feedback to the House for purposes of information, but for the rigorous debate on the reports, which I think, Honorable Kipkuru, you will be required in your reports to capture all this you're saying, so that Honorable Fred shouldn't feel that it's just for the sake of saying. Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, why would Fred be interested in the issues of Tinderet? And anyway,
Honorable
who tells him, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Kipkuru,
Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Chemnyango, what is it?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want just to inform Honorable Fred, what Kipkuru Chepkwanya is really talking about is what we really found in the ground. It's really true and it's real. Thank you.
Honorable Fred.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, ningependa kujulisha waheshimiwa wote wawili ya kwamba mimi nimefuata kipengele 79. Sijaongea mambo ya Tinderet kwa sababu mimi niko kwa bunge. Anafuata sheria, Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Honorable members, I think the same will be settled once you have the reports, but proceed.
You see, Honorable Speaker, I should also be quick to mention to Honorable Fred that I might have the report here and I have it entirely in my mind. I don't need to read. I can speak out of mind.
Proceed and
But I have
finish.
read the report. So, Honorable Speaker, you know, that is why I say some of these things. Anyway, let me leave it. I will discuss later about that. But as I was saying, Honorable Speaker, the masks that were distributed from the county, those all of us, we saw it on the social media. They were splashed all over. The sanitizers were distributed. 20 liters of the sanitizer was taken to Tinderet. 500 masks were purported to have been distributed in every ward. Why I'm using the word purported is because, Honorable Speaker, when we asked for the details of how they were distributed, there was none. We were told the ward administrators and sub-county administrators distributed. In fact, we were shocked. The one that was a big shocker was the one for Rail, Kapsimoto. When we asked how was it distributed, because Rail could not be able to place how it was distributed, then they were told, they stood at Kipsakiat and they gave to the border guys in Kipsakiat. And Rael said, the people of border in Kipsakiat are not more than 50. And 500 masks just disappeared like that in Kipsakiat. And I'll tell you, even yesterday, for those of us who drive down Chepsangor going to our wards, you will spot in Kipsakiat no one has a mask that is similar to that which was distributed from the county. So, Honorable Speaker, we could not be able to trace the distribution pattern, or even so, even when we met the border riders in the entire sub-county, they will tell you we were told only about 4 people from the entire sub-county attended the distribution or the launch in Kapsabet. And those are the people who only think, we feel, if they took the 500, they could be having them at their homes. But that's not the truth. The sub-county administrator and the ward administrators are the ones who distributed. In fact, in the sitting that we sat with the sub-county COVID response team, chaired by the sub-county DCC commissioner, we said clearly, anything that needed to be distributed further from that, we should have documentation on it. We were shocked again. Barely 2 weeks ago, all of us are aware that there was some new distribution of masks, another batch of masks, but they did not adhere to what we said. So again, the ward administrators again went round. Unfortunately, they are distributing the masks to the same people who are purported to have been given the last that was distributed. So there is no proper tracking of those who have gotten masks and those who need to get masks. So, Honorable Speaker, in general, as a people of Tinderet, we just feel, and at that point, we felt that if there is one safe haven that we can look at in Nandi County, would be Tinderet sub-county, and if there will be measures to limit movement of people from outside Tinderet sub-county, because if they expose us, we cannot be able to respond. We cannot be able to take care of those people. And again, on that, Honorable Speaker, so that I don't conclude without mentioning that at that time, when we had the meeting, there were 19 people in total at one time who were on quarantine in Tinderet sub-county. And self-quarantine, that is in their homes, those who at that time who had traveled from outside the county, before Nairobi, Mombasa, Mandera, and Kwale were put on lockdown. But all of them, as we speak, Honorable Speaker, have already concluded their 14 days. So as at that time when we did the report, I think last week when we met, there was no one who was on quarantine in the entire sub-county. And on what was committed by the CEC for Health and the governor himself, that we are going to have border or entry point checks. The only one that we have spotted, which is barely 2 days old, is one at Songo, where, like the member for Nandi has indicated, they are in the open. Even the guys who are doing the checks, the healthcare staff, they have no protection. They are just on their regular dress code, not even a dust coat. They are being assisted by some policemen there. And I will be quick to mention, it was indicated that it would be at the border points. Border points. In Tindred, we take the issue of border seriously. A border is a serious border. But I want to say, wherever they are doing the checks is not the border. So it goes against the definition of a border. And we'll be seeking that if they mean a border, they should stick to the border. We know our border between Nandi and our neighboring counties. And for the other entry points, like the one that is in Moroni, the one that is in coming to DL Koisagat, the one at Chemase, Kibos, the one at Timborwa, Honorable Speaker, we are yet to see the deployment of healthcare staff to be able to do that. So I think on preparedness to be able to protect our people from this COVID-19, Tinderet is poorly prepared. Or I could just say we are not prepared. I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers. Order number 4, papers.
Next order.
Order number 5, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable David Koech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to give notice of motion on resumption of County Assembly sittings. I kindly ask.
Honorable member, the notice is enough.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, this COVID season has made some of us to forget our procedure.
I think you've been away too long. The notice is enough. Honorable Fred.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Gideon.
Mr. Speaker, I want to seek your guidance here on the matter raised by Honorable Leader of Majority. I'm sure last week we sat here and indeed there was a motion to that effect also of resumption of normal sitting. And in a nutshell, it was incorporating the virtual
Point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Let Honorable Gideon finish because he's on a point of order.
So, Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether is it doing another motion to correct the other or what is the Honorable Leader of Majority up to this time?
Honorable Kipkurui.
Honorable Speaker, is it in order for the Honorable Member for Nandi Hills to discuss a motion that is not, to preempt the discussion on a motion that is not yet moved and seconded? Because, Honorable Speaker, he understands clearly that there is a procedure before a motion. A member is allowed to even give notice on a motion that it have gone through 3 approval stages, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, I would seek that you rule him out of order.
Honorable Babu.
Thank you, my learned friend, Honorable Kukuri. Maybe I can clarify, Honorable Speaker. Last week it was actually about converting this assembly into virtual sittings, Honorable Gideon. I think this one is now, because we must move a motion to allow members to have sittings. So for this one, we are now having more sittings. The other one, it was only on Wednesdays. This one now we have included Thursday, morning and afternoon, so that we can have members deliberating their issues for four sessions in a week. Thank you, my learned friend, Gideon.
Honorable Majority Leader, you are out of order. None of you is a learned friend, so proceed. Honorable Fred.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to give the notice of motion on the localization and deployment of road engineers, water engineers, sub-county administrators, and water administrators.
Fair enough. I think the motions have been allocated time. I think Majority Leader's motion will come in the afternoon. Honorable Fred is set for tomorrow. Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Honorable members, I can see the Chair Agriculture. You are expected to respond to Honorable Mengech. Are you ready right now? Because if today you don't have the response, I already communicated. I can give you up to afternoon. But beyond that, I will not allow you to sit in the plenary again.
Mr. Speaker, the two questions from the Chair Education, I have them ready, the two of them. So if he needs two or one in the afternoon, it's fine.
So, Honorable Maru, without fail, listen, I had given my direction. Without fail, if in the afternoon, because I already directed in the afternoon session, yourself and Dr. Sanga, if you will not be able to respond to the two, I will not allow you to sit in the plenary.
So, Mr. Speaker, so I want to know whether it's the NARIC or the price of the processing plant.
Honorable, both of them. Fair enough. So I think the same, anyone know, in contact with Dr. Sanga, communicate the same. Next order.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kipkurui.
Honorable Speaker, I think I would seek the guidance from the chair whether you mean that any other chair, not only limited to the two chairmen, any other chairman who has a pending response to any statement would desist from attending session. I think, Honorable Speaker, that you can clarify that, because we would be so happy.
Honorable.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Gideon.
Mr. Speaker, on the same note, I want to seek you whether the direction you are giving include also the members, because the Chair Agriculture is not bringing a statement for himself, but for the committee and the Chair Health, so that all of us have what we call collective responsibility, not a blanket kind of condemnation of the chairs, Honorable Speaker. Could you still give direction on that?
Honorable Gideon and Honorable Kipkurui, the reason why we are clamping down. Honorable Fred, you want to give a contribution?
Pia Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa pia utupatie habari kuhusu, tulikuwa tumepewa petition, lakini kuna mtu amepotea, tumemtafuta, imetushinda vile tutaleta hiyo petition, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sababu tumeandika barua, tumeandika message, aje lete response yote. Ningependa pia utupatie habari vile tutafanya, Mheshimiwa Spika.
Honorable members, I think my directions are as follows. When it comes to the statements, the chair of a committee takes absolute responsibility. But I expect the same chair to also liaise with the committee members. So in the first instance, I'm applying the same to the committee chairs so that they take responsibility. Our committees are facing problems in terms of holding meetings because of the chairs. Once the chair exercises their power, the same then I can cascade down to the individual members. Before I can visit it upon the members, I will start with the committee chairs. Secondly, I would want the chair to take responsibility, as Honorable Fred says, far back to the House. If you are facing any challenge, we are not assuming that you are the CEC. No. You are only, we cannot have a CEC responding to us directly by the nature of our system. But as a chair of the committee, if you go seek a statement, if you seek information, and the moment you feel that you are frustrated and you don't get any input, don't hesitate. Come back immediately to the floor of the House, and I will give my ruling on the floor, so that the chair can know that your work is basically to get factual and correct information. Any challenge, bring it back here. Previously, that has led the entire House to consider an issue of a particular CC, of a particular CEO, because it stems from that. That is my direction. Next order.
Order number 8, adjournment.
The House adjourns until afternoon sitting.